Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing something.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. This has been a bad weekend. Just we'll discuss the news. It's a bad week. Like everything's falling apart,
I
but
know.
we'll persevere, right? I guess there's
I
some
hope
good
so.
stuff. Maybe I don't know. Let me say hi to the chat. Oh, quite a few people here. Let's Brian Gilmartin, long time no see, my dudes. Yes, Brian Gilmartin, we outed you as Sir Torrin Clegane last week, and then we realized that you're not Sir Torrin Clegane. But if Sir Torrin Clegane does something really bad online, people may come after you. Okay, so I'm kidding. Okay, anyway, just clarifying here, Brian Gilmartin and Sir Torrin Clegane, two different
He
people.
said we,
Okay.
but what he means is he. I know
Whatever.
who Sir Torrance Clegane
You're
is.
the one that said you outed him, and I'm like,
I know. I just said I wouldn't want to out anybody. I
okay,
didn't say
whatever.
whether you
Well, I
were right or
assume that's
wrong.
what. Anyway, whatever. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne is Superman, if you want to believe that. Sure.
Fine. There you go. Okay. Melissa Harris and Sons 3.0. Okay. Aged Boomers in here. Nice to see you. You're kind of a troublemaker, though, so maybe watch
I'm
your
worried
P's and
about him.
Q's
He's talking
tonight.
to himself now.
I'm getting. You know me. You know me better than I talk to myself in real life sometimes.
Right?
It means you're either crazy or you have money in the bank, right? Netters Network, always good to see you. I got an audio. Hi, sweetie. That was nice. Okay. Let me see. Brian Gilmartin again. Who else is here? Let me go down to new comments. Daniel Heron, Auditor Dread. I'm sure other people will filter through probably as the night goes on. But
You didn't ask me what I was sipping on.
what are you sipping on?
Well, you know that song, one bourbon, one shot, and one beer?
Yeah.
I've got 3 drinks in front of me right now.
Is it a bourbon, a shot, and a beer?
Well, there is a bourbon. I do have a bourbon. I have a Diet Cherry Coke and a Diet Cheerwine, and I'm going to drink all 3 of them.
Well, I've never had Cheerwine. Is that any good?
It's pretty good. Big Al recommended it in one stream, and we happened to see it at Meyer, and I was like, hey, let's try it. And Netter was like, nah, not my thing. I'm like, oh, but it's mine. I like this.
Is it any good? What does it taste like?
It tastes like a cherry soda.
I have to. Oh, that's what it is. Cherry soda. I once got Vernon's ginger
That's what
soda.
I said.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I don't like them.
That's what I said.
No,
Anyway.
I heard you say that's mine.
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry,
And
guys. Side conversation there.
It's fine. We're just getting toasty right now. Anyway, Zootopia.
I'm gonna get toasty because I'm drinking the.
You're gonna need
the
me
bourbon
toasty by the
first.
end of the stream when we talk about the last story. Okay?
I feel I
which I already
I
warned
kinda
you
know
about,
it's
but
coming,
I should have kept my mouth shut.
No, I'm going to
your
front
live
load because I need
reaction-
to be ready for this. I need the
your
cushioning.
reaction
Although the
was
reason I
wonderful.
originally poured the bourbon was because I called my uncle for his birthday. I'm not going to tell you how old he is. He's way older than I am. Okay, so
Gotcha.
and I said, how are you feeling? Because I know he's had some health problems, a lot of physical pain and whatnot. He goes, oh, I feel great today. My buddy has me drinking a bourbon. I said, oh, what do you have? He goes, it's Maker's Mark 42, I want to say. Something like that.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, so it's good stuff. He's like, I feel great. I'm like, oh, that's good. I get off the phone with him. I'm like, now I want a bourbon. So poured myself a little bit of bourbon.
I have to say, yeah, Roadhouse would be a good movie to have some drinks during, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to encourage you. Make sure if you haven't had any alcohol in a long time, that would be the time to
Oh,
start.
man. Let me see. Zootopia, if I didn't say hi. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm upset, Melissa Harris, about Frank Miller. We'll talk about that tonight.
Yeah, that's on the docket.
Yeah, a lot of.
I'm going to have maybe a little bit different take on it than I think most of y'all are going to have, but we'll see.
Maybe okay. Yeah, you know what? We are a free speech zone here. Okay.
Fair enough.
You didn't ask me what I'm sipping.
We can't agree on everything, right? We got to have a little bit of debate sometimes.
You didn't ask me what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on a Snapple watermelon lemonade.
Boring.
Oh, I got a fact to read to you. Do you want to hear the fact?
Go for it.
At room temperature, the average air molecule travels at the speed of a rifle bullet.
Okay. What caliber? It doesn't say, does it?
Didn't say.
Well, that makes a difference, but okay.
It's in the glass bottle. It's one of the last ones I have.
Okay.
Plastic bottles, I don't like them.
I
You
know.
can't even read the stupid facts on the plastic lid.
Not only that, but I mean, it does taste different. That's the other thing.
It's good.
This cheerwine does come in a glass bottle, so that's something.
Glass bottle's nice. I also like cans. I do like canned stuff too. I used to get hard cider in cans.
Cans are acceptable. They're better than plastic, but I still think glass is probably the best.
I think glass is the best. Yeah, we was able to get Strombo in a can once. That was nice. Horizon Talker, hello the chat. Hello Horizon Talker. But yeah, we got some stuff to talk about tonight.
Yep.
Might as well get right into it, huh?
We starting with the streaming war?
Start with the streaming war. Netflix.
Guys, we got some serious business, legal news. It's going to be meaty. Hope that's the kind of thing you're into, because it matters. We
will have a good old days, or what you guys call Troy story, next week. We just didn't have one this week, and we are so overloaded with news.
Yeah,
those are doing well on the YouTube
the
competitor.
Rumble.
They're liking them over at Rumble. I'll get like 3 views on the CD talk, and like over Rumble, it's got like 50 guest likes on it already. So that's not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, here's the big news. Netflix lost nearly 500,000 subscribers in Q2.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, streaming giant Netflix lost nearly 500,000 subscribers in its second financial quarter, despite adding more subscribers than initially predicted. As one of the first streaming networks to truly make an impression on the global market, Netflix has long since been looked to as a leader in innovating a technology that has revolutionized the manner in which people watch films, television, and soon enough video games.
Interesting.
That means playing video games, right? It's not going to be a Let's Play I'm watching, right?
I suspect what they're. I mean, I haven't heard. This is the first time hearing of it. But if I had to speculate, I'd say some sort of a streaming, try the game or rent the game kind of a thing. And
everyone's trying that soon, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But over the course of the past several years, a wide range of newly formed streaming services have threatened to challenge Netflix's dominance, while the pandemic has caused an untold degree of damage to the finances of numerous businesses the world over. Netflix found considerable success through the lockdowns that still continue to occur in various nations. At the same time, however, the likes of Disney and Amazon competitive market with Chinese streaming service IQE succeeding in its own right within China. It's difficult to say at present how much longer Netflix will continue to be the leader in the streaming wars, but it is worth pointing out that the service's subscription numbers have continued to rise, in some cases even surpassing what was initially predicted during certain quarters. Your thoughts?
Well, first, I'm going to say just one word: cuties. I know that's not the whole story, but I'm going to bring it up.
Well, I'm sure their He-Man is going to boost numbers now, right?
I have no idea.
I have no idea what's been acceptable. I thought Netflix would be doing better because they did that big announcement that they were going to have a new movie a week. Remember that whole thing?
Which was that again?
They were going to have a new movie a week.
Yeah, I remember us reporting on that. I don't really remember what came of that.
Like Army of the Dead was one, and I don't know. It's kind of like what Amazon is doing now. Like they had, what is it, that Jolt movie up here a couple weekends ago. They had the Tomorrow War. So I thought they were going to try, don't go out to the theater, stay at home and watch our movie instead.
I just real quick want to address the chat. There's been some talk about buffering, and I had asked if the problem people were having was with the whole stream or if it was just Boomer, or was it me, or what was it? And now I'm getting some people are saying they're having buffering problems. Others are saying it's perfectly fine. Keep us apprised if you see anything like that. But just to mention to you, Boomer, you did seem to be breaking up on me when we were in the green room. So I don't know if there's going to be an internet problem later or something.
I tell you what, let me hop out and right back in, okay? I'm going to try switching.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts about Netflix to the stream.
This shouldn't stop the stream, hopefully. We'll see.
No, it won't. So anyway, first thing is, and this kind of sets the stage for several things we're going to be talking about in streaming tonight. And I'm going back to what I've been saying for quite some time. It's that Netflix, was the big guys, right? As far as streaming, they were on the front line, and now everybody's getting involved. All the different studios, everybody that's got a streaming service. It's the streaming wars. We call it that for a reason, right? And it becomes the same kind of problem you see on like a platform like Locals or even here on YouTube. Okay, actually, YouTube is a great example. Okay, I am a member of Midnight's Edge, Midnight's Edge After Dark, Latino Slant, Max World Entertainment. Okay, that's 4 channels that I give my money to on a monthly basis. And that doesn't include some overlap where Nanette is a member as well. Okay, we're at our limit. We cannot, financially support other channels. It's bad enough, that I, spend money on the super chats and the whatnot. That's also supporting these channels. But you can't support everybody, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing now with these streaming services. You can't subscribe to Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and, et cetera, and so on and so forth.
Paramount
Peacock
Plus.
And all the others, right? You got to choose. Okay. And even when one of those services, in quotes, wins the streaming wars, there's a limit to how many people can financially afford to subscribe to them. Just can't do it. And no matter how you slice it up, no matter how you try to spin it, not releasing movies in the theater is money lost. It's money left on the table by these companies. It just frickin' is. Because the only people that can see those Netflix movies are the ones that subscribe to Netflix. And there's a finite number of people that are subscribed to Netflix. That's just the bottom line. And if you're then going to, release your Netflix original on Netflix, well, you're not making anything extra. You're just hoping more people subscribe. And when they don't, well, guess what? That runs into money. And that's why we're looking at now, losing 500,000 subscribers, because people going, you know what? You're not putting out anything I'm interested in. I'm going to jump over to Disney because I want to see The Mandalorian. Or, you know what?
HBO Max for
whatever.
Snyder Cut or whatever.
And you're going to get people hopping around. And Boomer, I'm going to reiterate a prognostication that I made several months ago. It's eventually going to come down to they're going to start locking you into 1 year and 2 year commitments.
Yes. Like cable.
It's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. I promise you. And then see what that does to people. Then they have a real hard decision to make.
It has to happen.
Yep.
Now, could maybe the drop-off rate up until recently hasn't been that bad, and that's why they let you do the monthly? I don't know.
I think they will do whatever they can to get people, in quotes, hooked. They want to get people hooked. So if I can get you in for a month, and on a monthly basis and keep putting out this product and, their hope is that their movies, that their content that they're putting out is, must-see TV. The fact is it just frickin' isn't. That gets into another aspect of business we're going to talk about later down the line. But the quality of the product isn't holding people. There isn't a lot of streaming services putting out must-see television anymore. I mean, The Mandalorian, sure, maybe. What else? Guys, you tell me. Because there's a lot of stuff that's streaming out there that I couldn't give 2 farts about.
Yeah. Auto Dread has a comment. I agree. I only use one of the services at a time. There is not enough time in the day to consume the streaming content of multiple streams and not enough justification for me to waste money. Okay.
Auto Dread, that pretty much sums up how everybody feels. And these studios need to understand this. There is a finite amount of money that people, especially people in this post-2020 era that are out of work, now we're talking about, the federal government pulling the moratorium on evictions. So you're going to have a lot of people freaking out of their houses, living on the streets. They don't give a flying fig about streaming any crap.
I've been noticing too around here, restaurants are now shutting down at 8:00. You know that? They stopped seating at 7:30. I don't know if they're having trouble getting staff or if they can't afford to.
I do have to real quick. I want to address Daniel Herron. He said, but Kevin Smith said that Netflix doesn't care about if people leave. No. That's not what they said. Or that's not what Kevin said. What Kevin said was that Netflix doesn't care if they don't like it. If they're, one particular thing they're negative about online. Basically making the all press is good press thing. They absolutely frickin' do care if people leave. That's not what Kevin Smith was talking about. People, as far as he was talking about, weren't leaving Netflix because of He-Man. But the fact is they are leaving. And I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons. I tend to believe that the primary reason is because of the business model. And yes, the lack of interest in their product. But yes, specific things like Cuties and He-Man and other things like that probably do absolutely feed into it.
Brian Gilmartin addresses you. I don't have enough time to constantly watch whatever shows are on the streaming services with all the other hobbies I have. Yeah. I remember being a teenager. I would have, 2-3 regular shows top that I watched, maybe 4. Okay, that was it. And I was lucky if I had that many good shows because television, especially in the early 90s, wasn't great. Don't even get me started on television in the 80s. There's a reason I bring up Robin of Sherwood. It was the only thing on. Okay, that was worth anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being harsh. There was different strokes. I'm kidding, of course. That'll be the next good old days, different strokes, except it will be about the not so good old days anyway. But I got off.
Well, track. I can put a downer on that. Let's talk about Dana Plato.
Yeah, that whole crew was cursed. I think the one that played Willis, he had a drug problem, but at least he recovered and got help, and I think he's doing all right now. But
yeah, the rest of them, he turned to religion, and
that's good.
Him.
That always works, or usually does. Anyway, what was I going to say?
But yeah, I mean, so this whole and actually, I'm gonna put an even finer point on it. It's not just. You make this big expenditure for a streaming service and there's only so many hours in the day to consume this stuff. I'll go even further than that. I think more and more, and this kind of falls under the whole homelessness, not caring about streaming services, people that are out of work, people that are seeing shelves being empty, people that are concerned about big things in their lives and being able to put food on the table don't give a flying F about what they watch on TV. This is what we always used to say to our cable company. Every time the cable prices would go up, my wife would call in and say, I'm going to cancel unless you bring this price down. Well, there's nothing we can do. Well, then cancel me because I don't need you to live. I don't need your service. It is not a necessity. This is a luxury, and you've just priced yourself out of the market with me. And they usually would backpedal and change to keep you. This is what these streaming services need to understand. They are a luxury, especially because they haven't made a good enough product to make themselves must-see TV. And we'll get into this with the next piece, but when you put it out in digital media, people also will take to the high seas, me hearty.
Yeah, and I am going to say this too. Paramount Plus. I'm going to have a row about them later, but their original content. I'm watching Evil this season, and it's not. I'm wondering if it's starting to jump the shark already, and it's only season 2. I mean, I'm gonna give it a couple more episodes, see if they turn it around. But let's see. TV may have been bad in the 80s, but at least there was no Chris Chan. I'm sure he existed in the 80s. You know who Chris Chan is, Troy?
No idea.
That's a black hole you will not escape from when you look him up online. I don't have enough time on the show to talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Maybe after the stream.
Okay.
I won't be able to accurately explain it to you, though. But anyway.
Is he any relation to 4chan?
No, but, well, maybe. I don't know, okay?
Now I'm sounding like the boomer, right?
Okay, let's move on, okay? Netflix, whatever. It's It's crappy.
Well, no, but it
cartoon
does
series
kind of
and-
feed directly into our next piece here.
Actually, I'll say this: the one about the chess player wasn't bad. That Netflix series, Queen's Gambit, it wasn't bad.
I actually heard a review on that. Did look pretty good.
Yeah. And it's funny, that's actually based on a novel that was written in the 80s.
Okay.
So I don't know if that explains things. But Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, lawsuit, actress agent slams Disney for direct attack on her character and leaving talent out of streaming profit question. This was the big news. This is the big news story this week. Everyone's suing Disney, okay?
Yeah. Well, at least
so far one.
For certain we have Scarlett Johansson. Guys, later, maybe next week, I will post a link once it drops. I was telling Boomer in the green room that a channel that I really enjoy, Viva Fry, every week before this stream, he is on a live stream with another attorney, Robert Barnes, and they were talking about this case. They talk just the way Boomer and I talk about geeky news. They talk about legal news, and they break down the lawsuits, so the average person can kind of understand what's going on with them. And Barnes had some really great insights on this, and he pointed out that all of this talk about, greed and, that's all just posturing, trying to hurt each other in the court of public opinion, because none of that matters on a legal level. On a legal level, it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars Scarlett Johansson made. And it doesn't matter how many billions of dollars Disney makes off of her product, okay? What matters is what the agreement is and what's fair under that agreement, okay? And Scarlett Johansson had an agreement that she would make however many $1 million for making this movie, and as a part of her obligation, besides just making the movie, was going on the junkets, regurgitating all the SJW talking points that they say she has to, which she took a lot of flack for from a lot of fans. We talked about that in past weeks. And she was also supposed to make a certain amount of money based on ticket sales. And Disney turns around and says, you know what? We're just going to release this on stream. Same day that it goes to theaters. We're going to bypass the theaters. We're going to cut out the theaters. We're going to cut out people like Scarlett Johansson that are supposed to make money off the ticket sales, because we make the money off of the streaming service. And it's a lose-lose scenario for them, because they didn't make the money off the stream. Like I said, you're kind of locked into the people that are subscribing to you. Nobody flocked to Disney Plus because they absolutely positively had to see the Scarlett Johansson movie. In fact, if it was that needy for them, they went to the high seas. But even that, it wasn't worth the bandwidth to download, So Scarlett Johansson lost money. So she has every right, almost an obligation, to sue them. And I was telling Boomer, I was on a private chat with the guys from Midnight's Edge, Andre and Tom and whatnot. And one of the things that I pointed out is that this is gonna be a water, because they brought up what a lot of other people have brought up. Well, they're just gonna settle out of court. Sure, they settle out of court. But then we're going to have the next article we're going to get into where other people are starting to sue. And it's not just the actors. It's the directors. It's the representation for these people. They all have a stake in, from their contracts, making a percentage on ticket sales. If you're going to try doing an end run around, this is going to be no different than when TV actors sued the studios over syndication money, when TV and movie actors started suing the studios over DVDs and VHS and other home media. Now it's just happening because of streaming.
Remember we had the Bill Nye story a little while back with the what determines home video. Remember they said he was not being given royalties and stuff on streaming because that's not part of the contract. That doesn't mean home video streaming. That's what the judge
And I
said.
said that's fine. There'll just be a whole other lawsuit, and they're going to say, then we're entitled to that too if it's not the same thing.
Should I read from the article a bit?
Go
Let me
for
go
it.
ahead. Yeah. CAA co-chairman and Scarlett Johansson.
Of course, you realize the more you read, the more I drink. So just keep that in mind.
Brian Lord issued a statement Friday in response to Disney's harsh slam against the Black Widow actress in her breach of contract lawsuit versus the Burbank studio. On Thursday, Disney slammed the two-time Oscar nominees by saying her lawsuit showed callous disregard for the pandemic, the latter which has been the studio's excuse for taking Black Widow day and date in theaters and on Disney Plus premiere.
Let me interrupt you real quick and point out that what Robert Barnes was saying about that, he made an excellent point about that. He goes, yeah, because she's got the whole, Me Too, intersectional feminist point of view, right? I'm the woman, that's not getting my due. She's playing the feminist card and they're playing the COVID card. Go ahead.
Funny. Yeah, it's the whole yeah, I think she was one of the people responsible for the whole Time's Up thing.
Yeah.
That's another story. Anyway, Disney also outed her $20 million salary for the film, which it claims that coupled with the Disney Plus monies of the MCU title significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation. Below is Lord's statement. This is Billy Lord's dad, I think, Jerry Fisher's ex, who was an entertainment lawyer, I guess. I want to address the Walt Disney Company statement that was issued in response to the lawsuit filed against them yesterday by our client, Scarlett Johansson. They have shamelessly and falsely accused Miss Johansson of being insensitive to the global pandemic in an attempt to make her appear to be someone and I know she isn't.
Yep.
Scarlett has been Disney's partner on 9 movies, which have earned Disney and its shareholder billions. The company included her salary in their press statement in an attempt to weaponize her success as an artist and businesswoman, as if that were something she should be ashamed of. Scarlett is extremely proud of the work that she and all the actors, writers, directors, producers, and the Marvel creative team have been a part of for well over a decade. This suit was filed as a result of Disney's decision to knowingly violate Scarlett's contract. They very deliberately moved the revenue stream and profits of Disney Plus side of the company, leaving artistic and financial partners out of their new equation. That's it, pure and simple. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we have is, and there's a lot of people that are, rubbing their hands together and feeling a great deal of schadenfreude. Here we have the big evil corporations and the SJWs starting to, fight amongst themselves. Okay, that's fine. But put the bias aside. And what you got is two corporations. You really got to call them corporations. When you talk about somebody as wealthy as Scarlett Johansson, she is a corporation. She is a corporate entity, right? And you got two corporations going head to head, and they're slinging a bunch of mud. And it's like, that's fine if you want to try playing this out in the court of public opinion. Let's see how that works for you, Disney. Because I think trying to play the pandemic card is not going to play real well with a lot of people that are getting sick and tired of mask mandates and being out of work and getting evicted from their homes. Okay, that just want to go to the effing theater without these problems. You're kind of behind the curve on this one.
Yeah, Auditor Dredd said it would be ironic that Disney gets pseudo Me Too. Besides Scarlett pursuing lawsuit, Emma Stone and Emily Blunt are considering their options as well. Well, that brings us to the next article. Should I read from it?
Well, before you do, let me just say this about Disney: what they've actually said and more obliquely inferred. Oh, she's just being greedy because you know what they did? They disclosed her salary. That's a big no-no, and that's going to have some interesting legal aspects to it as well.
Oh, but, yeah, that probably was supposed. They probably weren't allowed to say what they paid her.
I don't know what the legality is on that, but that's bad form. If again, talking court of public opinion, people don't like that because nobody wants their salary disclosed by their employer. That's a big no-no.
Well-
And how far is it going to go? Disney calling an actress greedy. Disney calling someone greedy. Hashtag confession through projection.
Yes. And now, of course, we have Emma Stone is reportedly considering suing Disney over the release of Cruella Disney Plus. See, maybe if Disney hadn't been greedy with ScarJo, you wouldn't have other actors now thinking, wait a minute, you know?
Look, we were saying this back with Mulan and so many others. Look, I don't honestly think any of these would have been big box office revenue generators anyway, but there's no way for them to argue that it would have been or wouldn't have been. We'll never frickin' know, because you chose to put it, to do it this way. And I said back when they first did it with Mulan and all the others, guys, you're leaving money on the table because you're trying to win an unwinnable streaming war. Okay? This is a war that nobody is going to really, in quotes, win. They need to get their heads out of their asses and really think through from a reasonable, intelligent economics point of view, how is streaming really supposed to work?
So this is the World War I of Hollywood.
Yeah, you could be right. You could actually be right.
There was a wonderful line in 1917, yeah, that movie when the one guy says, "Who wins this war? Last man standing." That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, let me also put a little translation for you on weighing her options. Emily Blunt is weighing her options. That just means A, she's looking to see what happens with this lawsuit first, and secondly, she's also looking to see what the revenue looks like, and it could also just be as simple as, how much are you going to give me not to sue you?
Maybe cast her in that Fantastic Four movie that everybody seems to want her cast in, but I don't know. Then they have to pay her a lot of money. That would be the way around this, though. But the trouble is, it's a ScarJo does.
Well, look, wait a minute. Sometimes it's just a matter of how you pay somebody out. If they pay her off, like literally, here's an undisclosed sum to not sue us, and we enter into an agreement, that's a loss right off of their bottom line. But if they say, if you don't sue us, we will give you this contract for this movie, for this role, and you'll get all this money, then all that money they pay her, that's tax deductible for them.
Yeah, because Emily Blunt has had a good relation with Disney. She was in Mary Poppins before she did this.
And how well did that movie do?
I thought it did all right. I think it was respected. But
it has the same issue with it could have made more money if not for the streaming service.
No, this was before that.
Oh, was it?
Mary Poppins Returns was out.
But it came out during COVID, didn't it?
No, before, like a year or two before. Her streaming thing right now, her day and date streaming movie is Jungle Cruise.
Which hasn't happened yet. So she definitely has to wait and see what happens.
Maybe it came out this weekend.
It's another thing, too. You can't really sue somebody over something that hasn't come out yet.
Now, is a big problem with this is that they're just not sharing streaming revenue with the actors. Why not just change the contract?
Well, it's twofold. That's part of it. Part of it is by deciding to, do this, they're taking literally, they're chopping, they're slicing off what they would make from the studios, or excuse me, from the theater sales, and you get nothing from the digital service. So they're directly stealing from them is what they're doing. I'm just going to call it what it is. But in addition to that, it's also, you're mismanaging the business. This whole movie would make more money for all of us if you didn't do this. If you released it in theaters for a period of time and then switched over to stream, and then after it was streamed for a while, then you release it on DVD. Everybody makes money off of that. But you've chosen not to do that. So it's just mismanagement in general.
Do you think Feige knew that this was going to happen, that ScarJo was...
Feige's not happy about it either, because he's losing money too.
Okay, so maybe it's a similar thing with him as
it's
well.
Feige, it's... Remember Nolan was pissed about this stuff too?
I remember.
The whole industry is pissed off about what the studio's doing. That's why I'm saying this is getting to be a big industry war that's going on that they're not going to be able to just keep paying off. They're going to have to. And I think that's what really, this isn't really about Scarlett Johansson making a few extra $1 million. This is her being on the front lines of a movement to change the industry going forward, which benefits everybody.
And maybe Bill Nye will get the money.
And indirectly, it benefits us too, okay? Because it means that, I'm going to go back to Dune. If Dune gets released in the theaters and not on stream until much later, it means Dune does better. It means fans of Dune are more likely to get a sequel. So we all benefit from this.
We'll get a limited streaming series with half the budget. I'm kidding. I don't know what they're doing.
That's
hopefully
not
it does. Hopefully it does well. And I don't know why they. Okay. So, anything else to add to this? I'm wondering. I guess we'll be keeping.
No, I don't think we need to spend too much more time on this. I think I got across the things.
Well, this is going to be an ongoing story, though. I think. So
yes, exactly. I feel like I got out the points that you may not be getting on some of the other YouTubers' channels, some of those legal aspects and whatnot. And you know what? You're right. We'll keep you posted as we get more information about this.
But yeah, this Disney, they need change over there, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Speaking of nothing, Kevin Smith responds to He-Man fans upset over Masters of the Universe Revelations cliffhanger.
I'll hold my tongue and just let you read this one.
All right. Long before Masters of the Universe Revelation debuted. Okay. Last week.
Is that you screwing up, or is that they?
I don't know. It's debuted, right? Never,
yeah,
unless
debuted.
I'm reading it wrong.
In the past, debuted.
I know. Okay, maybe I'm reading it wrong or they spelled it. I don't know. Okay. Long before Masters of the Universe Revelation debuted last week, tons of longtime He-Man fans needed no extra prodding to get excited about the much-buzzed Netflix revival of one of 1980's most nostalgia-laced toon superheroes. Led by Kevin Smith, one of the most famous self-confessed superhero fans there is, the series was billed as an adult-orientated continuation of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, complete with the built-in assurance that it'd likely be a big crowd pleaser for anyone who couldn't get enough back in the day of the Filmation original. Fast forward to this week, and it's an entirely different story, at least for a vocal contingent of fans who've shared their nonplussed reactions across social media while tanking Revelation's fan consensus review score at Rotten Tomatoes. Now that the series' first half is in viewers' hands, a significant portion of the fan reaction has been more brutal than a Skeletor sucker punch. A major story twist unfolds during the series' very first episode. Spoiler alert, people. One that takes its namesake He-Man, also known as Prince Adam, out of commission and away from seeing much Season 1 screen time other than through flashbacks, while He-Man does reemerge in the main story of the 5th episode. Many fans have interpreted its ending, in which Skeletor stabs Prince Adam and seemingly kills him off, as a total retcon portrayal from Smith, a creator who'd pledged to handle the franchise like a die-hard fan himself. Now Smith is filling in the missing story piece that all those outraged viewers evidently missed. He-Man's not dead, and there's no way in Eternia that Smith would helm a beloved series with the intention of finishing out its debut season after killing off the main character. Speaking with Variety in the wake of the show's July 23rd debut, Smith said with characteristic bluntness that fans angered by the apparent kill-off have the whole thing way wrong, and that the upcoming second half of Season 1 will demonstrate that all those negative vibes will feel seriously misplaced. I see people online go, "Hey man, they're getting rid of He-Man," said Smith. Like, you really think effing Mattel Television, who hired me and paid me money, wants to give a fucking Masters of the Universe show without He-Man? Grow the fuck up, man. Like, that blew my mind. Bunch of people being like, "Oh, I smell it. This is a bait and switch." I know what a fan base reacts like when they don't get the thing they grew up watching, said Smith. You think I'm going to be the fall guy for that? If I'm involved in a thing, it's going to be true to what it is. It's going to be true to the franchise. Okay.
That comment is really not aging well. People have seen it and they know that's a lie. But you know what? A lot of people are saying they just need to change the name. It's no longer He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It is now LGBT and the Misandrous of the Uterus.
Okay, Troy, can we be a little more mature in this discussion?
Sure. Okay, you want me to be mature? This F-tard lied. He frickin' lied. And he did it online where everybody has the receipts to show it. Okay, first, he said this was the spiritual successor to the original Filmation cartoon, which technically isn't a lie because it's not a literal sequel. This is not canon with the Filmation. It can't be for licensing reasons. That's why there's certain characters that aren't in it. That's why there's certain characters that are a little bit different. So there's a lot of fans that are saying, you know what? I don't care too much about this because this, just like I was saying about Star Trek and everything, that's not my Star Trek. Therefore, I don't care. But the fact is, that is canon. That is canon with Star Trek. This is not canon with the Filmation. And Midnight's Edge in the next couple weeks is going to have a very, very complicated video coming out about the rights issues around He-Man that are going to cover this a little bit more. But this is not a sequel, so don't buy this. You can call this Kevin Smith's He-Man, but he did a bait and switch. He led people to believe that this was a sequel to their beloved cartoon, and it flat out was not. And he's also saying, what was it? He said something about, I wouldn't do that. I'm a fan too. Bullshit. Because we've got the receipts from your other shows where you said, I never cared about He-Man. I didn't watch it. So were you lying then or are you lying now? Either way, you lied.
Oh, Brian Gilmartin says, this is a bad thing that I was saying F Kevin Smith before it was even cool. I'm telling you, I
would put it this way, Brian Gilmartin. Depends on how you feel about the people that are now coming back and going, you know what, Brian Gilmartin, you were right, and are starting to now agree with you. They gave him more latitude, but they're eating more crow now than you are. So can you be forgiving of the people that are now suffering because of it?
Now listen, but we haven't seen the second half. It's all
nobody wants to, though. That's the problem. He effed himself so badly, and Netflix effed themselves so badly. Nobody cares about this no He-Man fans care about this anymore.
Okay, Kevin Smith's a big He-Man fan.
No, he is not.
Was caught.
He has repeatedly said he didn't watch it until he got the opportunity to do this thing, and then he said, "Oh, I used to run home from school in this year and this year," and then someone pointed out that the show didn't come out until the year after that.
Now, did you get a chance to watch any of the Comic-Con clips? Comic-Con.
I did not get a chance. No, I had.
He was asking
again. Troy not doing his homework.
No, it's all right. I'll explain. Young Rippa has a great video on it. If you want to watch him go on. I should probably paste in the chat.
Go ahead and drop the link.
I was just messing with you. I like the Masters of the Uterus thing. I'm just. Anyway, you want me to? I'll post it in the chat if you guys.
Yeah, go ahead and drop it for everyone else.
But basically,
just because I didn't do my homework doesn't mean they shouldn't have an opportunity.
But my point is this, though. What their interview, Young Ripper goes through his basic interviews, and the one guy says, "Well, weren't you talking with the Netflix people? Weren't they upset about all the controversy?" And they said, "Oh no, they liked it." And they said, and Kevin Smith's like, "We're safe," and then the Netflix guy said, "Safe as kittens." And I want to hurt somebody physically after hearing him say that. It's like they're laughing at us.
But here's the other side of it. Let's just scroll back up in our notes. And what was the first one that we said? Netflix lost nearly a million subscribers in Q2. Let's see how many more they lose in Q3 and see if Netflix still feels safe as kittens. Just saying. I'm just quoting the damn numbers.
Yeah, but anyway, Kevin Smith strikes me as the kind of guy that his kid brother, I don't know if he has one, would have been watching He-Man and he would have made fun of the show and picked on his kid brother for watching it. And then he gets put in charge of the show.
Yeah.
And now he's doing it to all the fans that liked the show growing up. It's like the same thing. That's what this
Well,
feels like.
and here's this was Tom Connor's take over at Midnight's Edge. He was saying that, of course, Kevin Smith is kind of freaking out a bit because he's got, what is it, Clerks 3 coming out that he's trying to, push. And if he's pushing his fans away because of this, that's not good for him. So he panics and he turns to Netflix and goes, what do I do? And Netflix is like, oh, we don't care. We're fine. Any publicity is good publicity. Now, I don't know if they really believe that or not, but from their point of view, He-Man is such a small blip on their overall business model. They probably don't give a flying fig about what people are saying about this on social media. But this absolutely frickin' does affect Kevin Smith. And there are a lot of people that I'm hearing that are so pissed about this. They're like, I'm not seeing his Clerks 3. I don't give a shit what he does. I'm done with him. I think he's effectively blown up his whole business model. He's done.
Horizon Talker to be Pop Goes the Pacelli is your favorite game, isn't it? Do you enjoy winding up or the explosion best? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
No, I think it's just like on other channels. You got that one guy that gets crazy and goes off, and he's the draw because people like to see him, flip out. Call me Dr. Banner if you want. That's
Once
fine.
in a blue moon, I flip out on this channel too. You've heard it, right?
Yeah. Well, usually it has something to do with gaming, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what he's talking about. But he's upset about something.
We're getting there. We're going to do the Activision story tonight.
That's true.
A little bit of it, at least. Trust me, that thing's a can of worms. Okay, Steven Dorff says he regrets comments about Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow.
Yep. Tell us about that.
Okay. We discussed this a few weeks ago. I thought he was on fire. I was like nodding my head, especially with his Oscars comments. Okay. I don't know.
Well, refresh everybody what it was that he said.
Yeah, what's in the article? I'll read what it says.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Actor Steven Dorff has reportedly claimed his comments were taken a little bit out of context after an interview which he criticized Marvel films went viral. Speaking to The Independent earlier this month, the Blade star said he was embarrassed by films such as Black Widow, which stars Scarlett Johansson as the title character. I'll still hunt out the good shit because I don't want to be in Black Widow, Dorff said. It looks like garbage to me. It looks like a bad video game. I'm embarrassed for those people. I'm embarrassed for Scarlett. I'm sure she got paid $5-7 million bucks, and I'm embarrassed for her. I don't want to be in those movies. I really don't. I'll find a kid director who's going to be the next Kubrick and I'll act for him instead. Speaking to TMZ this week, however, the 47-year-old said he felt bad about his earlier comments and claimed he was caught in a moment where I was shit-talking a little bit. The U.S. publication reports that he has yet to see the film but has cleared the air with Johansson. You know what? For all I know, Johansson isn't too pleased with the movie. I'm telling you, though, those interviews she was given before that movie came out, those were not flattering. She was just complaining about how she was portrayed. It wasn't selling me on the movie. I'm going to say this much.
So this is what a lot of people have come out and pointed out. Part of her contract is she's got to go out and say whatever Disney says that she needs to say. So a lot of people gave her a lot of flack about the very SJW BS that she was spewing in her junket. But those weren't her words. She was just the trained monkey, reading the script, and I mean, that can only help her in her lawsuit because Disney doesn't have any grounds to say, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that and you didn't support us in this way. She did everything they told her to do. But now she has the opportunity to come back and say, and it has not served. You are mismanaging this business. And I think that's really all that Dorff was, is that his name, Dorff? Was
Steven Dorff, yeah.
Yeah, that's really all that he was saying, that this is not true. This does not support, this doesn't build up the business. And, it's actually full of crap. And we all know it. Look, even the people that are saying it, even the people that are telling her to say it, know it's a bunch of crap. They just need to learn this is not the money-making strategy. Nobody agrees with them. They're behind the curve already on this SJW BS. Nobody's buying it.
Plus, I keep thinking that some of these movies were supposed to be very timely 2 years ago.
And yeah, it kind of hurts when you, that's what a lot of people said about Wonder Woman, right? They put it off so long, and they were pushing the whole marketing that the bad guy was supposed to be a Trump analog. Well, it does no good to then release the movie after Trump's out of office.
Yeah, I don't know.
That kind of screwed their whole marketing strategy.
People have read it two different ways. You could or you couldn't see him as a Trump analog.
It doesn't matter. He's
an 80s big businessman, so
right.
Could be, which Trump
that's fine. The fact is that was the marketing avenue they went with.
Of course,
and that marketing did not match up with when they released it.
Oh, they were trying to capitalize on that. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying I don't think that was the intent. I don't want to think about that movie again, though. I'm sorry.
But it's no different from any of these others. And a lot of people have said the same thing about this Black Widow. Black Widow would have been much better released before Endgame. And apparently it was originally supposed to. But then they started thinking streaming. Then COVID hit. And then all this other stuff put it off and put it off and put it off. And now it's not even a relevant story within the span of their MCU. So there's no value to this movie at all.
I did watch the Red Letter Media review of it. They were pointing out that the villain reminded them of like Harvey Weinstein.
The villain changed 3 times during the filming of the damn movie. The villain was supposed to have been the soy boy boyfriend. It was supposed to be someone else entirely. It was supposed to be, and then I guess they ended up deciding that it was the girl. And it's like, when you do that kind of thing and you chop it up and you edit it and then you CG somebody's floating head on someone else's body, I mean, you end up with a composite piece of crap, just like The Rise of Skywalker.
Do you remember summer of 2008? We got Iron Man, The Dark Knight, The Incredible Hulk, and Hellboy 2, which I still consider a superhero movie.
Yeah. That
was a kick-butt summer for superhero movies, okay?
That's back when we were still making good movies.
I liked all 4 of them. Iron Man was good. I liked The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. I preferred him over Ruffalo. And Marvel, I just feel, it's slipping away now. I don't think they're going to keep the momentum going. I don't know. I think losing Chadwick Boseman doesn't help either, because I think he was supposed to be one of the big headliners going forward, and now they've lost him.
True.
I don't know what they're doing with Thor right now, but they turned him into a joke character. No more Captain America. No, well, unless you count the Falcon now as Captain America with that weird costume. I'm done. Anyway, but Stephen Dorff, I like him. He's a good actor, and Blade is still my favorite Marvel adaptation. Widow has an interesting way of defeating the villain by breaking her nose on a table. Yes, I read about that. It screams women empowerment. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, no. I don't want to do this. I guess I have to. Are we done with this?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is you. This is all
I know. This is
man.
All you. This is one of these things. Do I really want to do this story?
This is stuff that I wouldn't even know about if you didn't send it to me.
Do you know what Activision is? Let's see if you even know what this company is.
Okay, so outside of Activision as the first third-party game maker for Atari 2600.
Okay, so you do know them. That's the same company. They were the ones, I think they made those cartridges without licensing them properly either, because I think before Atari, that's right. I think Atari would always they would buy the game. Like if Nintendo wants Donkey Kong on the system, Atari has to make it themselves and put it on the system. I think that's how it worked back then, whereas Activision, they released their own cartridges. Yep. Activision did some good stuff. They made Pitfall. Remember Pitfall?
I did love Pitfall, yeah.
Yeah, and they have never gone away. They've always been around. They became really popular with games such as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in recent years. A little game called Call of Duty. Maybe you've heard of it.
Oh yeah, I did like Call
Okay.
of Duty. Sure.
Okay, that's still going strong. They made the Guitar Hero games. Another
I've
big
played it.
seller for
Yeah.
them. Recently they've done they brought Crash Bandicoot back, and I mean, I have my own issues with Activision. Then they bought out Blizzard some time ago. They were the people that made StarCraft and Warcraft and World of Warcraft and all that stuff.
So we're
Diablo.
talking about MMOs online.
MMOs, but also
Okay.
remember the game Diablo and the game StarCraft.
Oh, okay, sure.
The strategy games. They also make those. Blizzard was a PC company that Activision bought out.
Okay.
Okay. So apparently they are now also being sued. I almost felt like saying, did I put suing in the title of a lot of these things? I don't know. Okay. California's Fair Employment Agency filed a lawsuit against the gaming giant Activision Blizzard on Tuesday, accusing the Call of Duty publisher of a quote-unquote pervasive frat boy frat boy culture in which female employees were routinely harassed. In one alleged incident, a newly promoted male supervisor delegated his responsibilities to his now female subordinates in favor of playing Call of Duty, the filing said. Maybe
that sounds like a very interesting case to me, because I could totally see another side of this where it's like, yeah, I was playing Call of Duty. It's kind of part of my job.
It was bug testing. Yes, I have no idea. This is the problem I have with this lawsuit. I'll go in. I'm not saying bad things.
And delegation to a subordinate, I don't care what your gender is. That's sometimes what you do as a boss.
I am not saying bad things didn't happen here. I am saying that I think the press is blowing things up and maybe making accusations of things that didn't happen. But,
you don't say.
Yeah.
The media doesn't do that. They're always
100%
accurate and completely unbiased.
Yes. The California Department, and we have California too getting involved. Okay, California Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued Activision Blizzard and two subsidiaries, Activision Publishing and World of Warcraft creator Blizzard Entertainment, after a 2-year investigation into working conditions for female staff, Bloomberg Law first reported. DFEF said in Tuesday's filing to the Los Angeles Supreme Court that women at the company were discriminated against, subjected to constant sexual harassment, groped, paid less, and for substantially similar work, and retaliated against by the company HR when they complained. Unsurprisingly, the defendant's frat boy culture is a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women, the lawsuit said. A spokesperson for Activision Blizzard said in a statement that the picture of DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today. The DFEH includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative with the DFEH throughout their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refuse to inform us what issues they perceive, the statement said. We value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity for everyone. There is no place in our company or industry for sexual misconduct and harassment of any kind, the spokesperson said. We take every allegation seriously and investigate all claims and cases related to misconduct. Action was taken to address the issue. The lawsuit detailed claims that some male co-workers engaged in cube crawls where they would drink copious amounts of alcohol and move between cubicles in the office, often behaving inappropriately towards their female co-workers. Some male workers made sexual advances to female employees on the World of Warcraft team and also made derogatory comments about, I can't say that word out loud, can I? Okay, but it's the R word. Okay. Anyway, agency said in the filing that one female Activision Blizzard died by self-deletion. That's not the word, during a business trip. Okay, so this all sounds really awful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the reasons were. They do say one was, so he said a male supervisor had brought a something plug. Okay, this is getting...
Wow, pretty specific.
Yeah, okay. It could have been a personal thing. Anyway, Anyway, I'm not saying that bad stuff didn't happen here. I am saying the way the media is treating it, these are the same types that have gone after the game. It's the same gaming press that goes after things. I do think there were probably bad individuals at Activision that should be disciplined or fired or sued if necessary. I don't know that it's a culture, okay? I don't know. I'm not saying that what they're saying isn't true. I'm just saying I'm suspicious that all of this may not be true. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
Okay.
I don't even know the business as well as you, so I definitely couldn't comment.
I do
on
know
that.
on paper they'll always have the woke talking points. I think they were big supporters of BLM during last summer's kerfluffle.
Well,
They were,
I'm just gonna say that I don't think any business really believes it. They just say they regurgitate what is in the modern mainstream or what they believe is the correct talking points. But be that as it may, the one thing I am gonna say. One thing I do want to focus on, you talked about them making complaints to HR and HR being retaliatory. I just want to remind everybody, HR at a company is not there to protect the employees. They are there to protect the company. Just remember that when you go to HR.
Yeah.
Remember where you stand in relation to HR and the company when you go to HR.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think you have a point. I'm not going to say anymore, but I have my own. I'm not going to say.
If you
anything.
think
I'll
that
talk
you
to
are
about it after
truly
the
being,
chat.
if you truly believe you are being harassed or you have a legal case, seek counsel.
Don't go to
And
them.
let them advise you how to go
Okay.
about talking to your HR department. You may even want your counsel to reach out to your HR department for you.
Okay. But let's see. This goes on. Activision Blizzard lashed out when accused of sexism. Workers don't like that response. So now the workers are flipping out as well. Okay. Employees at Activision Blizzard walked off the job Wednesday to protest the company's responses to an explosive lawsuit filed last week alleging pervasive discrimination and harassment against women. The walkout staged Wednesday at the company's Irvine office and virtually around the world was inspired by Activision Blizzard's response to the lawsuit more than the lawsuit itself. Immediately after the suit was filed, an Activision Blizzard spokesperson released a statement saying the lawsuit includes distorted, in many cases, false description of Blizzard's class. Okay, I already read that. Okay.
Mhm.
Over the weekend, employees decided to respond. A group of workers drafted a letter to management calling the company's initial statement and Townsend's follow-up abhorrent and insulting, writing that they no longer trust that our leaders will place employee safety above their own interests. Letter calls for official statements to recognize the severity of allegations and demanded that Townsend step down from leadership of the company's women employee group. Okay. The call for a walkout included the 4 demands: a change of hiring and promotion policies to increase the number of women at the company, the publication of compensation and promotion data for all employees, a third-party audit of the company's management and human resources department, and an end to mandatory arbitration clauses in all employee contracts, which the organizers write protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. I'm wondering, let's say you do have some men there acting inappropriately, right?
Okay.
Could you then use this as a means of having you and your friends gain better positions in the company?
Well, probably not, but I do
Okay.
see where you're going with that.
I don't
and
know. I'm just throwing
Let
that
me
out
offer
there.
you a supposition.
Yeah.
Instead, what they're looking for is they're looking for. Well, no. Let me rephrase that. I'm not saying this is what they are doing, but I'm saying what is most likely the best case scenario for them is they're not going to continue working for that company. They are going to leave the company with some sort of a settlement, or at least they're looking for a settlement. That is their best case scenario. There is never going to be a good scenario where staying with the company is going to benefit them.
Melissa Harris, yes, I agree. Melissa Harris, I would love to post your comment, but I'll just point to it in the chat. Bring your something to work day. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's all this stuff going on around the Cosby suite, and I've heard some say, oh, it's in a reflection to the allegations against Cosby, and it was a big joke that they could do that to women too at the company. Others say it may have been something to do with the old Cosby television show. You know, it's like a joke. You know, remember the Cosby show?
Yeah.
The wholesome thing. It could have been that too. I don't know. And then you have people taking pictures in front of the portrait, and then were they in it or are they just innocent bystander? I don't know. This whole thing's a mess, and I'll admit that I probably don't exactly know.
And I think
the
this
full
is the
story.
kind of thing. However you look at this, their HR department really screwed up because they should have limited their liability long before. If this was the kind of stuff people were doing, they needed to get a hold of this and go, look, this is not going to go well for us.
No.
The least that's going to happen is we're going to get complaints and possible lawsuits. If this makes it into the media, well, guess what? That's where it is. And this cannot help their business at all.
Oh, and didn't you send me some video of, what was it, David Jaffe, I think, God of War fame. He was saying that this was something to do with white privilege and all this other nonsense.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Considering who's being accused, that doesn't apply. Not that that's indication of men of his background either. I'm just sick of all this nonsense.
Well, and it's this crazy, I'm going to point at anything I can to deflect, it's corporate greed. It's intersectionalism. It's this SJW thing. It's CV. It's BLM. It's whatever I can, grapple with that gets everything deflected away from the fact that I'm a piece of crap, and I've done something wrong.
Well, he works for Sony Games, or at least he did. I wonder if there's stuff in his past that we're going to find out about. I don't know. What did I want to mention, though? As far as Activision goes, though, I think ultimately this is not going to be good for the company or its games. I suspect when all this is done, they'll become even more woke than they are now. And I don't know. I don't like to be used to I hate AAA. Because sometimes AAA does good stuff, but I don't know. Between them, Electronic Arts, and Ubisoft, I don't know. Any other thoughts on this, Troy?
Nope.
Okay.
And obviously, my thoughts are only just generic business related. I don't know the specific industry.
Well, I don't think you need to. I mean, they make the big first-person shooter games. They're making a remake of Diablo 2, which got a lot of criticism by people that played Diablo 2, since they made the pretty Amazon character you could play in the original game look like a man in the remake, because they have to ugly every character up now and put them in just never mind.
I mean, the only thing that I can say about things like video games and whatnot is, unlike movies and whatnot, at least with video games, if you don't like the way a character looks, there's people out there writing hacks that'll change it for you.
For PC, yes.
Oh, yeah, for PC. I'm sorry, I forgot. You don't have that option because you've locked yourself into a console.
You know what? I locked myself into consoles for the console exclusives and whatever. Okay, just leave my Nintendo alone. Nintendo, I think they're squeaky clean, but we'll find out what's going on in months to come. Anyway, don't. Okay, let's move on. More talk about women. They're only half the species. Anyway, Doctor Who.
Yes, let's talk more about the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, let me post it. First woman to play the Time Lord will bow out in autumn 2022, along with showrunner Chris Chibnall. I find it more interesting that Chibnall's bowing out, because frankly, if she left and he's still there, there's still a problem.
Yeah, they were
right?
a package deal. They came in together. They're leaving together.
Okay, because I don't care who plays the Doctor next. It's Chibnall's still in charge.
Yep.
The first woman to play the Time... Okay, Whittaker will star in a new 6-part series later this year, and 3 specials next year before she exits. So 3 specials, 90 minutes, that's what? 12 episodes?
Right there, I'm going to tell you. Everybody in the community is spinning this as we won. We're excited. The ones that screwed up Doctor Who are leaving. And I'm sitting here going, nothing has changed yet.
No.
They have a whole nother season and a bunch of movies that they can double down and make things even worse. Melissa Harris is absolutely right. Doctor Who is dead.
I'm sorry.
Nobody cares anymore.
I hate to agree with you on this, but I don't see how it can recover. I'll continue to read the article, then I'll give my 2 cents. In a statement, Whittaker paid tribute to Chibnall and the Doctor Who team, adding, "I will carry the Doctor and the lessons I've learned forever." Chibnall, who appointed the actress to replace Peter Capaldi. You know what? Do I even want to read this nonsense? Okay. Cannot thank Chris enough for entrusting me with his incredible stories. Blah blah blah. Okay, let's go to the better part of the article.
This is just the
here comes
in-group circle jerk that, pat each other on the back and say how great we are. We did so good, despite the fact that you lost money, despite the fact that the numbers are in the toilet, and nobody's even watching your damn show anymore.
Let me get to that. It's in the article. Okay, for her final series, Whittaker will once again be joined by Mandip Jill as Yaz and comedian John Bishop, who will play a new character named Dan. The 13th Doctor's first episode in October 2018 was watched by almost 11.5 million viewers in the sci-fi drama's biggest audience for almost a decade. It was also the biggest show of the week, ahead of Strictly Come Dancing and The Great British Bake Off. But the show's ratings have dropped in recent years. Whittaker's last episode, broadcast in January, attracted a consolidated audience of 6.3 billion. While many have praised Whittaker's casting, some fans and critics have criticized the show's recent narrative direction. Telegraph described recent episodes as flat, worthy, and woke, despite Whittaker's talent as an actress, while The Sun reported viewers were left furious by the show's unbearable political correctness. One of the long-running drama's unique features has been regeneration, where the Doctor completely changes their physical appearance, allowing the show to recast its lead every few years. Chibnall is currently writing and producing the next series of Doctor Who, which will air later this year. Okay, so we have a final feature-length special where the 13th Doctor will regenerate, will transmute in autumn 2022 as part of BBC centenary celebrations. Yay. And Doctor Who's 60th anniversary is in 2023.
So I'm just going to repeat myself on Doctor Who and point out that nobody cares that the Doctor became a woman. Nobody cares that the Doctor could change forms.
I did.
No, I think that they did enough foreshadowing with Missy that it could have been just fine.
Okay,
the problem is that they went back and retroactively changed canon. And you never change canon. Because when you change canon, you change what the fans were fans of.
Well, now the Doctor isn't even a Gallifreyan. That was the big thing.
Exactly.
I remember a while back when you had that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about when you talk about changing canon.
I'm going to say this too, though. For me, growing up, what I liked about the Doctor is that they always talk about, young girls having to have female role models, right, and characters in fiction. Well, it's important for boys to have that too. And the reason I got angry when they changed the Doctor to a woman was I always thought the Doctor was had different personalities. It was showing boys that there were different ways you could be masculine. Do you understand?
True.
And all the Doctors had different personality types. They were all men. They were all these strange eccentric heroes in their own right. But it was a way for you to look at what you could be, okay? Because the Doctor wasn't necessarily the leading man type. Like, he wasn't like the dashing hero that got the girl. That wasn't his role. But he was still a man. He still had his own. He was like, if I could say anything, he's the teacher. That's what I always thought his role was. Okay, sure. He was like a teacher. Okay, and I loved his character for that. And granted, if they had made him a woman and done the regeneration, I know they foreshadowed with Missy. Maybe I could have let it go if the writing had been top notch, like it had been. But instead, they just went and doubled down with the political correctness.
Well, that was the point I was making.
Yeah,
because there was also, For all the problems that I did have with the end of the Stephen Moffat era, they were setting up for a very interesting transition to a female Doctor when, the Doctor had some doubts about himself. This would have been a great opportunity for them to even start talking about a lot of the stuff that people are having issue with these days, with all the gender stuff and all of this kind of stuff. What have we been saying all along? Sci-fi is a great way to deal with this stuff without beating people over the head with it, right? Especially with the Doctor, who in and of himself, he's not really... male or female, you know what I mean? It's perfectly acceptable for him to explore femininity because he could. Why is he doing this? Because he had some issues to work through or whatever. They could have explored some really interesting character developing things there. But no, they turned it all into women are superior, glass ceiling smashing, the future is female, I got an upgrade. And, well, okay, perfect. You just pushed away 100% of your male audience. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Hope you brought in enough women to meet and exceed what you just lost.
Did they lose a lot of the female audience?
They also lost a lot of the
women
female
that like
audience.
the Doctor.
Keep in mind that, there was a whole generation of people that came into it because they, thought that David Tennant was just flippin' sexy,
That was always weird for me as a classic Doctor Who fan. The fact that they were always hinting at romance between the Doctor, because it's
But I love the fact that they also downplayed it and had him feeling uncomfortable about it too.
good. And it was and she got the clone anyway, so she Rose always wins in the end. I think they made a point in that one finale that Rose wins while what's her name, the Catherine Tate character, always loses. Though eventually she helped her out later on, remember? But it's like Rose got the good ending and she got the bad ending. Okay,
Rose was about as far as you could go with a companion without turning her into a Mary Sue, because I would argue that what's her name, the Impossible Girl. I forget
Jenna Coleman.
Jenna Coleman's character.
Yeah.
She definitely became a Mary Sue who outlived her usefulness as a companion.
I found her character kind of interesting, though, in that one Capaldi season, because I always felt she was her fiance died, and I think that messed her up. And I think the Doctor was trying to help her, but she just kind of had a death.
That's another example of some bad writing, because they had some things set up with him that never got a payoff.
Right.
Where he had they were supposed to have had a kid together and stuff, and
would have been interesting, yeah.
And it all gets kind of, I don't know, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, but I think it was good to keep her on as a transition into the new Doctor. You should never have a Doctor and a companion leaving at the same time. You need there to be overlap.
Yeah.
But once she was there for that, they should have immediately had a reason to hand it off. And there had been several episodes where she was supposed to have left, where the gravitas, that one episode where she was Clara,
Clara Oswald.
Where the one Christmas episode where they had the things on their face and, she gets stuck in the dream and ages up and stuff. That was supposed to have been, she was trapped and ends up old and, that whole story there. But no, he goes back and reverses it and makes her young again so she can continue on with him, and, they also took away the fact that when she falls into the Doctor's time stream, and became part of his whole history, that was supposed to be the end of it. It was supposed to be her big sacrifice. Nope. Bring her back again. It's like, okay, every sacrifice she makes is meaningless. So then when she does the whole thing with the Raven and is sacrificing herself again, and she's like, okay, save me again. I can't. There's no saving you this time. You blew it. You shouldn't have done that. It's like, it's about time, for F's sake. And they still circumvent it because they took a slice out of time where she could continue traveling around with
the girl from Game of Thrones. The one who was
from Game of Thrones. Yeah, it's like so. She's I don't know.
I don't know though. I know a lot of people rag on the second Capaldi season, but I kind of liked it. I almost liked the fact they didn't quite go there, and I was getting so anxious when I realized that prison he was in that he kept trying to break out of, that was a Time Lord prison. And I was thinking, are the Time Lords going to be is there going to be an adversary? And I was expecting some guy in the High Council. I know you think just because you saved Gallifrey that you can do whatever you want. And I was expecting a throwdown. We didn't quite get that. We got a little bit of that. I was like, because you used to get that, especially in the 80s.
Well, and that was a perfect throwback, because we know that Rassilon, they recast him. So clearly there was a regeneration that happened. We assume that had something to do with the Master, but we don't know the specifics. And it's always best not to know those specifics. You kind of fill those details in yourself. Something happened, you just don't know how it happened. And now that's where Chinballs comes in and decides, I am going to rewrite all of history and fill in all the gaps. And he literally pissed everybody off.
Yeah.
So, bottom line, good, they're leaving. Bad, we're still getting a whole nother season and a bunch of movies that gives them the opportunity to make things even worse. And look, when you know they're lame ducks and you know they're leaving, they have nothing on the line. They could literally do whatever they want.
They've already damaged it beyond repair.
You just wait and see what they come up with.
What are they going to do? Davros was originally a Time Lord. Davros was originally one of the Doctor's past generations, and he's the one that created the Daleks. So, I mean, I don't know what they're
that
going to come
actually
up with.
sounds like it could be a good, interesting
No, it
story at
doesn't.
this
It
point.
doesn't. Stop this. They already
By
tried that with
comparison to what
Balyard.
they've done to him already?
I am just no. My point is this. Okay, I'm okay with a couple Time Lords being bad. That makes sense. I like the fact that the Time Lords are not infallible. That makes sense. I didn't like the fact that old Gallifrey is evil and built on a lie, and now they're all dead anyway. After he went to all the trouble of bringing Gallifrey back, that whole big thing with the anniversary movie where they had David Tennant meet Matt Smith, and they figured out a way for him to bring Gallifrey back. Remember that they went to a whole convoluted thing because they said the one thing that always haunted the Doctor was the fact that I know you think that blowing up, but you know you killed children as well.
At this point, the only chance for Doctor Who is that they get rid of these two, take a break, get another showrunner a few years down the line, comes back and completely reboots it. Come in and does what they did with Christopher Eccleston. They do a little jump ahead. The Doctor does some timey-wimey thing, and you find out that there was a whole big reset, and all of that bullshit that happened with the Chibnall era was a bunch of crap, and it was a lie on the Master's part, and they pick it up from there.
Yeah, but here's the deal: you're still having to explain it all. I'm thinking, I don't know what to do at this point. I think hard reboot would be good, but that would mean going back to the beginning. It might be cool.
You'll never bring back fans if you do a reboot where you literally start from the beginning with the first Doctor and Susan. You will not get the fans.
This is the problem. See, the only other thing I can think of is do a hard reboot and forget. Of course, then you're basically forgetting about everything after McCoy. And I don't think that could work either. See, I don't know how to fix this.
No,
I don't know how to fix this.
I'm telling you,
okay?
the only way you do it is if you do a soft reboot and you do a storyline that introduces a new Doctor with a new showrunner.
Could you
that
just
says,
not even address this era? Just not.
They have to.
It?
They have no choice. If they have any hope of going forward, they must address it and they must overwrite it. If they don't, then you'll never get the fans back.
For those of you in the chat, if you're not Doctor Who watchers, Doctor Who relies heavily on its canon. Yes, the canon changes gradually over time. For instance, I think originally the Doctor didn't quite regenerate. It was more like he got younger. They changed his face. But they brought it in smoothly. Explain why the actors had always changed. And he was supposed to only have 13 lives. There were plenty of things they could have done to give us a female Doctor, too, I'm saying, that didn't even involve them doing it. They could have had Peter Capaldi be the last regeneration, then bring his daughter back. He had a daughter. Have the daughter take over, and then she takes on the moniker of the Doctor. Okay.
Well, that's the other thing that a lot of fans have had a problem with. You've had plenty of opportunities to have, female offshoots. The only one that you did was Sarah Jane.
River Song was practically a female Doctor.
Absolutely. Sarah Jane was relegated to a children's version of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And she, was the best female spinoff. Yeah, we never got Jenny back, so we don't get the Doctor's daughter. River Song could have been spun off into her own thing. She could have regenerated into a whole other person. There's so many things they could have done. They've passed up way too many opportunities. But, again, remember, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. This is a time travel thing. They could always reinterpret any portion of the Doctor's
Here's
history.
another problem. Okay, the whole thing with this whole canon problem too. We could even get away with the whole female Doctor. This was just a bad era, but the whole changing of the thing that he had all these. The whole point is not even a Gallifreyan. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm going to say this too. Oh, Horizon Talker makes a point. Time Lords are the English aristocracy. They're supposed to be stuffy, self-important, and mired in their own importance. But in today's culture, they got to be evil. Yeah, I would argue that at least the important, not all members.
In fairness, if you're looking at the English aristocracy, there's always been an element of seeing them as evil from the point of view of the commoner anyway. And really throughout the entire 30-some year history of Doctor Who, there has been excuse me, did I say 30? It's going on 60 years.
Yes.
Almost 60-year history of Doctor Who. We have had the Time Lords being the antagonists many times, almost all the way back to the beginning.
I've always, if I was using D&D in Live, I would say the Time Lords were lawful neutral. Okay? That's how I always sort of saw them as.
With some evil tendencies.
Some of them could turn evil, yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, they were more about just keeping things regular. Now, they would interfere sometimes on a blue moon. Like with the Daleks, they had to send the Doctor back, and they didn't even want to do it themselves. You do that because they were foreseeing a time when the Daleks would have destroyed all life in the universe, right? So they were like, you kind of have to prevent that from happening. And they like destroy them or stunt their development, do something so that doesn't happen because they didn't want that to happen.
Well, and that feeds directly into the whole time war thing. But look, there have been so many things that they have soft retconned, and they've used the Master to do it. The Master lies, right? Just like the Doctor does. Remember, all of this history that we know about, the Timeless Child. It all comes from a very unreliable source, and that's the Master. So it is so easy to overwrite all of that.
Yeah, I heard the actor they had playing was actually really good. I just, I think everything else wasn't.
Yeah. He really was good, but unfortunately the story was so piss poor, especially when you go, well, wait a minute, how do we even have another Master? When Missy died, she died. There's every other version of the Master, there was some ambiguity left open that, they never explicitly said how the Master came back, but there was enough ambiguity where you go, okay, I could totally see where something happened. This one was pretty ironclad.
We'll see what Chibs writes in the next couple seasons and see what other tangles they have to
So
undo.
let's just put the spoiled milk back in the fridge and see if it gets any better tomorrow.
Pretty much. Whoever takes over has his or her work cut out for them, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Or whatever other. Okay, convention. Okay, we go into the next story.
Yep.
Let's do this. Convention pulls Sin City creator Frank Miller from its lineup after outcry. Wow. Okay, United Kingdom Comics Convention Thought Bubble has announced that it will no longer be hosting Frank Miller as a guest in response to backlash from attendees and other guests. Frank Miller, once uncontested king of the comics world, has been increasingly controversial over the years. Already accused of misogyny over his iconic Sin City series, Miller came under fire for Holy Terror in 2011, a graphic novel which critics have called out as Islamophobic. Once Thought Bubble announced that it had invited Miller to appear as a guest at its convention, which is scheduled for November 13th to 14th at the Harrogate Convention Center in England, the reaction was swift and highly negative. Fans announced that they would no longer attend the convention unless Miller was dropped, with some going so far as to tweet screenshots of their canceled bookings as the start date dragged closer and Miller remained on the books. Other guests also announced that they would be withdrawing from the con as long as Miller remained on the list. Okay. I'm kind of a little shocked by this, to be honest with you. But maybe you have a different take. I think comic books, I think Frank Miller, whether or not you like his work, he's a big deal in comics. Sin City 300.
Sure.
So now he's persona non grata. Granted, this is England. I don't know what the situation is.
One thing that I would say is that Frank Miller, although he has done some really good writing and he's done some really good stories that I did enjoy, I do fault him and point to him as being the epicenter for this coarsening and nihilistic trend in comics that have really gotten us to where we are. Okay. Once we started getting his, Dark Knight Returns and all that, that really was the slippery slope that led us to where we are in comics. And part of that is this whole SJW thing that has risen up within comics that he is now reaping the crop of.
But Frank Miller is no SJW. Okay?
No, he's not. I'm saying that what he contributed to comics and the path that comics have gone down because of his influence have led to where comics are that created this community, and now it's coming back to bite him. He may not have contributed to it. He may not have intended it, but it happened.
I don't know. I know that before Dark Knight we had Watchmen, and of course that was not Alan Moore's intent with that. In fact, they purposely picked non-identifiable superheroes in that. Right?
Frank Miller and Alan Moore are the 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
they really are. But here's the other thing that I'll say. When I heard this whole dust-up about Holy Terror, I was confused as all heck, because the first Holy Terror I thought of was the Elseworld comic about Batman, where it's an alternate universe where the Oliver Cromwell Church continued into the modern day, and Batman was a priest. You know, yeah, and under the Anglican Church. And I was like confused. I'm like, I don't remember any Muslim references there at all, unless, there was something obliquely in there about, the Anglican Church versus, Muslims or something.
Was this written? I have a question. Was that story about religious extremism?
Kind of.
Okay.
But it was more targeted at, the Anglican Church and to some extent the Catholic Church, and church hierarchies and stuff like that. And it was a very dark dystopian.
Did Miller write that?
I don't know, and that's why I was kind of confused.
Because I'm wondering too, because this was originally supposed to be a Batman comic. This Holy Terror he wrote.
Yes. So then come to find out this is something else entirely, where he wanted to do a story about Batman and Catwoman. In the era, the post 9/11, take out the
9/11 terrorists, basically.
And I never read the damn thing.
Yeah,
so apparently DC made the probably pretty wise choice. No, you can't use Batman and Catwoman. So we made up characters and wrote a comic. And I guess Muslims were really offended about it. I cannot speak to it because I never read it. However, I am inclined to listen to people of the Muslim community who are familiar with it. And Kamran Pasha, who I respect a great deal, is one person who's very outspoken about this. And he seems to be so offended by it. He feels that Frank Miller is, in fact, Islamophobic and hates Muslims, and, he's entitled to that. I'll take him at his word. I know more about Kamran Pasha than I do about Frank Miller. So, if that's the case, well, sorry, Frank, but you wrote what you wrote, and people are, having the reaction they're having to it. Congratulations.
Melissa Harris says Holy Terror, the Fixer versus.
Yeah. I got that now. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, when he wrote it then, was it politically expedient then, and now it isn't? Is that what's going on now? It's
possibly, but I think that people like Kamran, and I don't want to speak for anyone else because I would be guessing what they'd be saying, but I think that people in the Muslim community had plenty of reason to be at least a bit concerned about the reaction that people had to the greater community of Muslims in the post 9/11 era. I still see it today. All Muslims are evil from the point of view of so many people.
Do you think they'd have the same reaction though if it was an anti-Christian book that he wrote or something?
Absolutely, and that's my intellectual honesty.
Not Kamran Pasha. I meant this convention. Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. And but if you're being intellectually honest, I think people do have a tendency to overreact and say, this group. I mean, look, I can't stand what BLM is doing. That doesn't mean I hate black people,
right?
And I think most black people are going, no, that does not represent us. And I'm hearing most Muslims going, yeah, no, these extremists don't represent us either. It's you got to keep these things in perspective, and again, be intellectually honest, and don't use them as an excuse for your own personal biases and bigotries.
No, I agree.
And I don't know if that's truly what this case is. I'm only going by what I've heard from people that know more than I do. And people that I respect. So I'm going to say, sorry, Frank, you reap what you sow. You made a choice, and this is the consequence.
Oh no, it just let's see. Let's see, what does it say? Horizon Talker. Holy Terror was never a particularly expedient book. The best interpretation was that Miller wrote it while pissed because he was in New York City on the date in question. But it's a bad book. I don't know.
That's the other thing that I've heard. Even people that are supportive of Frank Miller on this are saying it was a terrible story. So it's really hard to defend just on
I do want to say
level.
something, though. Let's say I've been in writing classes and other things. You can write something in bad taste. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know what Frank Miller, what he's been interviewed saying some nasty things.
You almost have to define bad person, because that's not what we're talking about here. I'm not saying Frank Miller is a bad person. I'm saying...
Well, Cameron Pasha was thinking he was Islamophobic, though. You mentioned that. I'm not saying you were saying
but
that.
Being Islamophobic in and of itself, I don't think necessarily makes him in quotes bad person.
But it would,
to me, a bad
crowd.
person is you're just evil across the board,
Right.
And being Islamophobic, is just having an opinion about a religion or a group of people or whatever. It's not good, but does that make you a bad person? I don't know. My point is this, though. It makes you a stupid person for saying it, okay? If I'm going to go around shooting my mouth off using the N word or using the K word for Jewish people or any other number of,
Yeah, no, you don't do that. Yeah.
I mean, I should expect that people are going to not like me and think I'm a bad person. And can I use an excuse? Well, I got drunk and I was just being, inflammatory. I don't really mean those things. Well, it's easy to say after the fact, after you're taking a lot of crap. But guys, I've said this about, people in that are celebrities, people that are making themselves celebrities on social media and so on and so forth. Watch what you do and say. People see this and judge you based on it. And you will suffer consequences. Yes, you have a right to express yourself, but you don't have a right from the consequences of what you say.
Oh, also remember, this came from the brilliant mind that brought us the G.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Oh, I forgot about Dark Knight.
I got a little bit of Schadenfreude about this.
Okay, so I guess
so Frank Miller, you're the GD Frank Miller. This shouldn't bother you at all.
Well, I'll still always love Sin City. Okay. Okay, yeah. But I guess he has. It looks like even from this chat we're having, a lot of people do not like this man.
But I'll tell you, Auditor Dredd's comment there makes an excellent point. That's another example where he wanted to do something with Batman that was very ill-conceived, but this one he got to do. It's a good thing they prevented him from using him in this Holy Terror thing. They should have not let him touch Batman for that either.
Well, DC picks and chooses what it does, I guess.
Well, DC's on that. I would say they're on a slippery slope. I'd say they're in free fall.
Well, speaking of DC, which is owned by Warner Brothers, which made the movie Blade Runner,
mm-hmm.
Blade Runner Black Lotus anime begins fall 2021.
Now, I did not know about this until you sent me that article. I
didn't know about it until last week, yes. Blade Runner Black Lotus, a new anime series based on the classic sci-fi film Blade Runner, will begin airing in fall 2021. Though announced in 2018 following the release of Blade Runner 2049 live-action film, little was known about the project until its reveal at the 2021 Comic-Con home online event. The series is co-production between Adult Swim and Crunchyroll. I'm getting worried just hearing those two. Okay, and a trailer accompanied the show's announcement. Crunchyroll also showed the show's
Why do they name
Japanese
these things after food? I mean, now I'm hungry.
Because they're stupid. I don't like Crunchyroll for a number of reasons. Okay, but anyway, they're bad. They're bad actors in the anime community as well. Crunchyroll is one of them, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, the Blade Runner Black Lotus trailer establishes the show as taking place in Los Angeles, 2032. This is 10 years after the first Blade Runner animated work, the short film Blade Runner Blackout 2022. I don't know if you've seen that little short. It's worth checking out. It takes place after the original movie, but before. It's like a setup for the Blade Runner 2049. It explains the blackout that happened.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
They refer to it in the movie, but yeah, it shows that it's kind of neat. It was done by the guy that made Cowboy Bebop. A young woman, Elle, voiced by Jessica Henwick in English and Arisa Shida in Japanese, awakens in Los Angeles with no memories, plenty of deadly skill. She's a replicant, a bioengineered human, created as a source of slave labor. Over the course of the show, she'll investigate her origins and the mystery behind them and clash with the powerful forces at work behind the scenes. Blade Runner Black Lotus will be produced by Alcon Television Group and animated by Japan's base CG animation studio Sola Digital Arts. Sola has produced the film Starship Troopers Invasion and Traitor of Mars and the Ultraman and Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045 series from Netflix alongside Production IG. This series will be directed by Kenji Kamiyama and Shinji Aramaki, who worked on Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045, the original Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, and Shinichiro Watanabe, who directed Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy, and Blade Runner Blackout, will serve in the creative production role. So it sounds like it has some good names attached to it.
I was just going to ask you that because obviously, not being really into anime myself, I was going to ask you: do you know these names? Are you? Is that positive?
Cowboy Bebop. You watch Cowboy Bebop?
I've seen it.
One
Yeah.
of my Matchstick streams. He that guy also directed the short for Blade Runner 2049.
So all of this sounds pretty good.
Maybe I have some trepidations though. Okay.
The other thing I was thinking is, as soon as I heard anime and Blade Runner, I was like, oh gosh, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
A lot of anime took influence from Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I would argue that Streets of Fire, Blade Runner, and The Thing were three of the most influential movies on Japanese animation. Okay,
interesting.
They love Streets of Fire. Don't get me started on that. The musical movie, the one
I love Streets of Fire.
They loved it in Japan. That was a big hit over there.
Do you not?
I like it, but I'm saying it wasn't a big hit over here when it came out.
No, you're right. It wasn't. It should have been. But
the director was shocked at how well it did over in Japan.
I mean, Michael Pare. I mean, just come on.
Yeah, well, what was I going to say? The Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045. That was a Netflix animated Ghost in the Shell series. I didn't even bother watching it. I'm not saying it's bad, but it didn't look good to me. I was obsessed with Ghost in the Shell, the original Standalone Complex series. They released those in collector's sets when they came out. I bought every one of them, the expensive collector sets for each one, because I was that Ghost in the Shell obsessed. And I bought every DVD, and I even bought it again. I have 2 copies of it, actually. That was an obsession of mine. Great cyberpunk science fiction anime. One of the best anime I've ever seen. I was a big fan of the original movies as well. But I'm worried, though, because we got the Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell movie that came out, okay? And that got into a firestorm over casting choices. But in the end, I just didn't think it was that good of a movie, okay? I actually went into it with an open mind, and I think they just picked the wrong director. I think he made a joke that he was just, oh, what was your inspiration for this? And I just basically took what I wanted from the anime. And I was like, yeah, that was part of your problem. I'm seeing actual shots from the anime live action, and it didn't work because the context was different. Yeah. And it threw me off. So I didn't care for that movie. Then we get a Netflix animated series that's computer animated rather than cell animated, or at least cell animated looking. And I didn't like the look of it. I just took one look of it and I was like, no, I'm not watching this. And I don't know about this Blade Runner series. Did you watch the trailer for it?
No, I didn't.
I don't know about
I am going to be looking into it, though, because I'm just kind of excited by the fact that Blade Runner as a franchise isn't dead. I do.
Here's what I'm going to say. It doesn't have to be bad.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't mean that it will be good. That's what I'm going to say. It will be on Adult Swim. I'm sure it'll show up on Hulu. I'll probably check out a couple episodes. I wasn't overwhelmed with the trailer, but it may change my mind. Okay, so we'll see.
Sure.
It's kind of odd this is coming out. Part of me thinks that Warner Brothers and the people that made the Ghost in the Shell had a contract with these people to make a series, and now it's finally coming out, and like years after Blade Runner was out, and I'm like, is this still a viable thing? I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not.
Well,
I'm not.
I
don't
have
know.
some hope, but that's based on nothing. I don't know near as much as you do, and I haven't looked into it yet. But I was excited to find out there was something happening with Blade Runner.
I don't think it will be woke. Okay, I don't think we have to worry about that. But things can be bad without being
But
woke.
I was just gonna say, but just because it's not woke doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be good.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind computer animated anime computer animated movies made by Japanese, because
Sure.
I will say that Appleseed Alpha, which was a CG animated movie, was amazing looking, and I thought when they were going to do the Ghost in the Shell CG animated series, it would be of that quality, but it wasn't, so I was disappointed. I haven't seen it. Maybe people in the chat have seen the Netflix series, but it just seemed like it was.
I am thinking that we do need to revisit the concept of cell animation versus CG, because I'm thinking back to some of the cartoons that we considered to have been cutting edge. I think of that. What was it? Treasure Planet. Which I think got shafted. I think that was a movie that should have been much better received than it was. Some of that animation was incredible. You also look at things like Beauty and the Beast, and the use of cell versus CG and whatnot. I think there's a place for CG in animation, so I don't want to completely rule it out.
Well, and to be fair, the Japanese and they're even in their animated movies, they sometimes combine the two. Like they'll have the 2D look, but then they'll have CG mixed in with it.
Yeah,
and they know how to work it when they know what they're doing. I loved, and like I said, Appleseed Alpha was completely CG, and I still enjoyed it. It looked cutting edge to me.
Look,
and
it
had realistic looking characters rather than the cutesy ones we see in the American movies.
You kind of touched on it right there. There is a way to do cartoons in the style of old-fashioned 2D animation cells, but you do it completely in the computer so that you eliminate a lot of the repetitive, unnecessary, unartful work. You know what I mean?
And to be honest with you, they're doing a lot of that now with modern anime. A lot of it is made with computers, and as I say, okay, Brian Gilmartin has to say goodnight. Good night, Brian Gilmartin, but thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
You'll have to tune into the end. We're going to talk about Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to check it out because anything Blade Runner, I'm going to at least give it a look to. But I used to say that about Ghost in the Shell as well, and that ended up disappointing me because Ghost in the Shell, in my opinion, is right up there with Blade Runner. In fact, if you want something you'll like Blade Runner, check out Ghost in the Shell someday, not the anime. Okay, I think you did see the first one with that awful English dub, but the series has a good dub. Anyway, I'm going off track. Snake Eyes. Okay. Snake Eyes box office failure is terrible news. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I was going for. Okay. At the box office, Snake Eyes is ringing true to its moniker. Okay, that's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The latest G.I. Joe installment, an origin story starring Henry Golding of Crazy Rich Asians fame, fell short of expectations, collecting a paltry $13.3 million in its first 3 days in North American theaters. That's bad, right?
Well, look, I mean, this franchise has not been doing well anyway, and nobody wanted this. And then they changed so many things about Snake Eyes from the lore. They lost the fans on this. This is just another example of them effing up a franchise because they decided to change things.
It cost $88 million to produce. Apparently, it's behind M. Night Shyamalan's mind-bending thriller Old, with its $16.5 million debut. Do you even know what that is?
Vaguely.
I didn't know he had a new movie out. I might have checked that out.
I heard something about it. I
Okay.
don't know any details.
Okay, unfortunately for Paramount Pictures and director Robert Swank, favorable reviews didn't help elevate the profile of a reboot to a long-in-the-tooth series that already wasn't particularly beloved by audiences. So basically, it looks like G.I. Joe on big screen is DOA. Okay, that's what it's sounding like to me. Industry.
Oh, actually, I do know what this movie is, Old.
What is
I'm
it?
actually kind of interested. I'm kind of thinking I'd like to see it.
He could be hit or miss, but I'll always give him a chance because I sometimes his B movies are fun too. Like he did that one about the old couple. Did you see that one? That was kind of the kids go visit their grandparents.
No, I don't think I know that.
It's
one.
not bad. It's like a found footage movie, but I got a kick out of it, though I know some people might have hated it, but I got a kick out of it. Okay, box office analysts suggest now more than ever movie-going masses have been choosier about what they opt to leave the house to see. Movie-going and general audience economics are both in recovery mode, says Sean Robbins.
Actually, wait a minute. Pause there. Go back to that. Read that previous sentence.
Box office analysts suggest now more than ever movie-going masses have been choosier about what they opt to leave the house to see.
That is very insightful.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a second. What they're basically saying is if these films want to be successful, they need to start putting out better product because people have gotten choosier. Instead of just trying to crank out a bunch of crap and guilting people into seeing it, and clubbing them with messaging.
Yeah, Marvel did it
Shocker.
too. Well, let's be honest. You go out to the movie, you want to go to the restaurant after, and they're closed.
True.
Okay, the night out, it was something you would do with friends. You'd go see it. I don't know if this is even still a thing anymore. I don't know. Industry insiders estimate that Snake Eyes will need to generate approximately 160 million to 175 million globally to break even and justify its $88 million budget. Why did this movie cost $88 million?
Yeah.
They were arguing that I don't know.
The only thing that I know about this movie is some of the stills that I saw, and I thought they got Scarlett's costume right.
You mean, oh, yeah. I don't know.
Didn't even know
Joe.
Scarlett was supposed to be in a movie that was called Snake Eyes, but okay.
Scarlett Johansson?
No, Scarlett, the G.I. Joe character. Scarlett.
I don't know. Okay, yeah. I'm a big G.I. Joe fan, like Kevin Smith. I'm kidding.
Yeah, apparently so.
Scarlett. Okay, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the Baroness. Never mind. Okay, never mind.
I want to see her costume.
Demand was simply limited here, especially without a well-known star or ensemble to drive interest outside the fan base. I don't know who this actor was they cast. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. They race swapped him.
Well, the franchise still has paths to success. There just needs to be a stronger roadmap in place if the studio wants to build a cohesive all-audience universe. Okay, well, that's the problem. All-audience universe, what does that mean?
I don't know, but it was a movie that nobody wanted that did more damage to the franchise ultimately for a number of reasons.
Okay.
And congratulations, it lost money.
Okay.
Big shocker there.
Now, I think I'll bore the chat with this wonderful Forbes article that you apparently had some issues with, but I'm going to read it out loud, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is about the upcoming Star Trek 4 movie and how G.I. Joe may affect it. As expected by anyone paying attention, Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins bombed at the domestic box office this weekend, opening with just $13.3 million against a budget of $88 million. The overseas prospects aren't much better, with $4 million in 37 markets, making up 29% of international footprint. Using spitball math, that translates into $13.7 million total overseas opening for a $27 million global debut. So that's how you spell debut. Okay, throw up an optimistic 2.77 multiplier, aka Rise of Cobra, with 150 million domestic off a 54 million debut back in 2009. So got a global come of around $75 million. Okay. There are a million reasons why this happened. Offhand, audiences didn't want another badly reviewed G.I. Joe movie. Audiences didn't want a reboot that was a prequel for the movie you wanted to see. This expected crash for the Snake Eyes movie before he was Snake Eyes flick deserves to be a cautionary tale for whatever Paramount has in the works for Star Trek. It's been 5 years since the lackluster performance of Justin Lin's mainly well-liked Star Trek Beyond, which earned 158 million domestic and 338 million worldwide against 185 million budget. That means we've been getting 5 years worth of Star Trek 4 is going to happen. Newsblast. That's correct, right?
True, absolutely. That's spot on.
It started days before Star Trek Beyond with word that Paramount was developing a sequel involving time travel and the post-death return of Chris Hemsworth as Kirk's late father. As I noted then, it was a bluff. a preemptive show of false strength to make the upcoming film's commercial performance seem more promising than it turned out to be. It's not unlike when Warner Brothers reacted to the horrific 69% second weekend drop of Green Lantern, which would eventually earn just $220 million on a $200 million budget by allegedly announcing a sequel. $200 million?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's another story. 10 years later, and there's no Green Lantern 2. We'll see if Cruella 2 or Wonder Woman 3, both announced as a show of perceived success, actually get made. We've been reading about starts and stops for Star Trek 4 ever since Quentin Tarantino had an R-rated pitch disassociated from the reboot continuity. But that never advanced beyond new hits and hot takes. A sequel to Star Trek Beyond, which was directed by S.J. Clarkson, was undone in summer of 2018 due to Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth refusing to take pay cuts over deals made on the assumption that Beyond would be a hit. Noah Hawley was hired in November 2019 to write and direct an entirely new Star Trek film, but they never went anywhere, allegedly due to a pitch involving a deadly virus. Kalina Vasquez was hired to write a separate screenplay based on her idea, while Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Dorette offered another competing script, with WandaVision director Matt Shankman being hired to direct earlier this month for a June 2023 release date. That one seems to have won out. I'd hope the total failure of rebooting G.I. Joe showed Paramount that they need to retain at least the reboot trilogy cast, whether they remain as popular as they were in 2009. Chris Pine's Kirk, Zachary Quinto Spock, Carl Urban's McCoy, Zoe Saldana-Zahura, Simon Pegg Scott, and John Trusulu are at least known, well-liked cinematic incarnations of the marquee characters. Going with a new crew means you're getting on the more abstract notion of Star Trek as an IP, something that has frankly never been tried for the movies. Going with another reboot means offering up another arbitrarily young, sexy, charismatic cast of folks playing characters defined by the original TV show cast and redefined by the Bad Robot produced trilogy. Moreover, the very idea of a famous IP getting a young and hot recasting reboot may have been unique in 2009, but now it's par for the course. Heck, much of what made Star Trek special in 2009 is now what everyone's trying to do in Hollywood.
I do want to temper what you said there about 2009 being successful. Yeah, you could argue that it made a profit at the theaters, but there was no marketing dollars afterwards. Nobody was buying the video games or the costumes or the
well, to be fair, the video game
there were no toys of any kind. I mean,
they were hyping up that video game before Into Darkness came out, and you were going to be fighting the Gorn, and then it came out and it got panned in reviews, and like J.J. Abrams says, "Oh, Bad Robot's making its first video game or something," and I don't know. It was just terrible. Okay.
Yeah, you don't find anybody buying action figures of Chris Pine's Kirk or any of that stuff. So,
okay,
just saying.
So what do we think? Do we think that this is a cautionary tale for Star Trek?
I just don't see the connection between Snake Eyes and Star Trek.
They're both owned by Paramount.
Yeah, big deal. That's all that means is they have less money to invest in something else, but that was never a question. They're looking for money to make another Star Trek film that nobody wants. It's not happening. It wasn't happening before G.I. Joe. This has nothing to do with G.I. Joe. I said it back when they first said, oh, yeah, there's more talk about a Star Trek 4. Yeah, they've been saying that all along. Just like this guy is saying,
Well, let me read the last paragraph.
Yeah,
okay?
Go ahead.
Snake Eyes, without arguing that G.I. Joe is anywhere near as popular as Star Trek, costs about what the next Star Trek movie should cost. Even without the pandemic, Snake Eyes would be looking at a XXX Return to Xander Cage level grosses $20 million debut and $45 million total without a Chinese bailout. Star Trek may live long on TV, but I'm not sure if it can prosper in theaters. It couldn't when the odds were in its favor, so why would it now? Star Trek 4 will open in summer 2023, weeks after a third Guardians of the Galaxy, months before Star Wars Rogue Squadron, and possibly right after or right before Fast and the Furious 10. Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there is no interest in another Star Trek movie. So I said it back when we first talked about the most recent discussion of a Star Trek 4. They're looking for money. They're not going to get it. It's not going to happen, just like all the other announcements of a Star Trek 4.
Oh, Daniel Harris listening. He says Scarlet was a strong female character before we had strong female characters.
True.
Whatever. Okay. What is Horizon Talker saying? I should probably read it first. Why not make Star Trek film focusing on a new ship with a new crew that doesn't have to be defined by the original cast? Stop with your creative thinking there, Horizon Talker. They want Kirk and Spock. We just have to make them totally different. Okay.
What? You mean like the Battle of Axanar? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
No, you can't say that out loud. You'll get into trouble. Okay, the stream's going to get banned now. Okay, but we have other Star Trek news tonight, so I guess you're not excited for Star Trek 4 and you don't even think it's going to be coming out.
No, not at
okay. Well, I don't know, but there's other big Star Trek news that just got announced today, and I was hesitant. I almost wish I just saved this for you. Alex Kurtzman inks mega deal over Alex Kurtzman inks mega new deal overall deal with Let me try this again.
Let me read it. You've got it on screen there. Alex Kurtzman inks mega new overall deal with CBS Studios.
Okay, I'll read from the article. This is from Deadline. I don't have the link to the article, but it's from Deadline, I believe. Alex Kurtzman, the top producer of CBS Studios roster and architect of the studio's Star Trek universe, has closed a massive new 9-figure overall deal there for his secret hideout banner. No financial terms are being disclosed, but I hear the pact in the $150 million range, putting Kurtzman in the very top tier of television writer-producers. The agreement will keep Kurtzman's secret hideout at CBS Studios through 2026, given the studio exclusive rights to the company's projects for all platforms, including a series adaptation of Stephen King's short story, The New York Times, at special bargain rates. Additionally, Kurtzman will remain at the helm on the growing Star Trek franchise for the next 6 years. Heather Caden will continue to lead the secret hideout content team along with SVP Aaron Bayers and Director of Development Robin Johnson. Under the new deal, Secret Hideout will expand its ranks with additional executive hires. This is the second consecutive time CBS Studios has stepped up to re-up Kurtzman with 2 years left on his deal. The prolific writer, producer, director launched Secret Hideout in 2016 with a 4-year overall deal at CBS Studios and Caden and Byers as his top executives. 2 years later, he signed a new 5-year overall deal with the studio, at the time valued at around $25 million. That put him in charge of expanding the Star Trek franchise. Back then, there was one Star Trek series, Discovery. 3 years later, Kurtzman and his team have grown the Star Trek franchise to 5 live-action and animated series for Paramount+. The company also recently produced The Comment Rule and his upcoming series, The Man Who Fell to Earth. What are these 5 live-action series? We have Discovery, Picard, I guess Strange New Worlds would be 3. Number 4 would be, I guess, Section 9. And I don't know what 5th is.
I don't know.
What are your thoughts on
I'm not
story?
even really following, Hold on a second. Bird of Prey 5. So, you read that article. What I find far more compelling is the comments on that article. First of which, by a YouTuber I admire a great deal. I just dropped his link, Bird of Prey. I put it wrong. I put Bird of Prey 3. It should be Bird of Prey 5, but the link is correct.
The link is correct.
Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'm sure he's got much more to say about this, but I will read his comments on this article. How much worse could Trek be for him to not get hired? The fact we know Discovery was so bad Netflix had no interest in any future Trek, with Secret Hideout refusing to pay anything for short treks or take on Picard. Discovery was the worst performing show when it aired on CBS this past year. There are virtually 0 toys or other licensed merchandise being sold from Kurtzman Trek. Everything is still original series, TNG, Deep Space Nine, or Voyager. Even if we ignore everything else, this is proof of failure right there. Maybe it's all nothing compared to something like Hawaii 5-0, but damn, I will miss good Trek.
Yeah. Any other comments?
This will not end well by user The Observer. There are, of course, people in here that are supporting because, they, lock goose step, with people like this. Someone named Needlied says, or Ned lied, with Kurtzman at the helm, Star Trek's descent into trash will now continue for years to come. Thanks, CBS. I like this one. Go Figure says, now he has the backing to slot the Mummy sequel. Yeah?
Oh, no.
Anonymous said, why?
Maybe this man made a pact with some dark force? I don't know. I don't understand what's happening here. Obviously, the rumor that the new woman in charge of Paramount TV was trying to make Star Trek a viable thing, that was wrong, because she not only did she hire Kurtzman again, she gave him $150 million to do it. That's a lot more than the $25 million. I don't understand what's happening here. They don't care about the quality of the product on Paramount Plus. They just want to shove stuff on there.
Actually, this next comment that I was just looking at speaks directly to what you said. User named Wade says, I don't disagree with the comments concerning Alex. If they are willing to pay him after all the damage he's done, why shouldn't he take the money and run? Given what's going on over at Disney with the CEOs wanting to renegotiate contracts, I would be interested to know if he's getting a new contract with 2 years left on the current one has some clause that allows CBS to fire and or exert more influence. That's an interesting thought I hadn't considered about.
I don't know. I'm just saying they sure are paying him a lot of money to exert influence and take Star Trek back. Does this person think that it's a ploy and that they're going to rein him in now with this new contract? Can they just not renew the contract and get rid of him?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
I mean, with all we know from this article is that he's getting a new contract that's extending out his time, and he's expected to be doing Star Trek for another 6 years. It's like, seriously, if you could continue to fail upwards like that, I mean, how do you?
I don't have any kind of a positive spin for this news. This is about as bad as it could get for Star Trek. Because one of two things happens. It's somehow successful, which I don't think it would be, but then they keep pumping money. Or maybe they can feign success and they keep pumping money into it. Or it fails miserably and they just abandon Star Trek altogether. Yeah. I don't see a recovery either way. I don't understand this. This doesn't make any logical sense to me. There's stuff going on behind the scenes I don't know about. All I know is
this makes absolutely no sense to me at all, but there you have it.
I want to make a point, too. When Star Trek Discovery premiered, I wasn't all rah, Star Trek's back, but I wasn't negative toward it either. I went into it with an open mind. And I remember when Bowles Trek, he's the one that attacks Dr. Ulop, but he was also attacking Star Trek Discovery later on after he was attacking the new Doctor. And I was like, Bowles Trek, you're just doing this to get clicks. Star Trek Discovery has a lot of problems, but it's not nearly as bad as you say. But then I started watching season 2, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. Oh, this is as bad as you say. Probably worse. Okay, season 2 is terrible. I didn't even bother with season 3. I did watch Picard because I wanted to keep up with, because Red Letter Media had some very funny takes on it, and I wanted to keep up with it. I'm not going to even bother with season 2 or anything Star Trek related. I think I'm just done. I don't know what to say. And what do you think? You're a bigger Star Trek fan than I am. You're long term. What's your opinion on any of this?
I have said this, repeatedly. I'm pretty much done with Trek until they decide to do some sort of a course correction, which they don't appear to be doing. So I am not. I'm not even bothering to take to the high seas to watch Trek anymore. It's not even worth it to me.
It's not fun. It's agonizing.
It really is. And a lot of
3 episodes for him to get into space.
Yeah.
It's a Star Trek show. It's supposed to be in the stars. That's the point. You're not supposed to be stuck on Earth.
Yeah, they turned it into nursing home Trek.
Anyway, it's not fun. It's not engaging. It doesn't spur of my mind because the people writing it don't know science. Even though I'm not a science guy, I can tell when someone knows less science than I do, and I'm done. I'm moving on. I heard The Expanse is good. Maybe I'll start watching that. Okay.
I mean, I'm way
everyone's
behind.
raving about The Expanse, so I mean, I got to start watching.
So many
The Expanse.
people have been telling me that for so long now.
I watched The Orville. I haven't watched that yet. I don't know if that's going to stay on the air or not. Disney, you want to win goodwill? Keep The Orville on, okay?
Exactly.
You basically own a Star Trek series. Don't throw it away, okay?
Do you realize you kind of flipped the whole show on its head this time? Instead of having a good old days at the top of the show, you end the show with this news about Kurtzman. That was a choice.
Yeah, this is a depressing stream, okay?
Kind of is, yeah.
You know what it was? I didn't want to wait another week to talk about this. I'm just done. I'm done. I don't know what else is going to come out. I don't know. I've seen the preview for the cartoons. None of this feels like Star Trek anymore. I'm just done. It's over. It's time to move on. I'll enjoy the old stuff. But right now, I don't know. Take a break. Find new things. We can find new things. Dune is coming out. There you go. Dune, right? Keep your fingers crossed.
Which unfortunately they are planning to release day and date on their streaming service. Same time it goes out.
I'll go see it in theaters.
I am definitely going to see it at the theaters. If I have to go out of state to do so, I will.
Apparently the Suicide Squad comes out next weekend too. The sequel. Oh, I mentioned the word I'm not supposed to mention because it's in the title of the darn movie. Okay. Self-deletion for the woman at Activision, though. Anyway, I think we're done. Anything else to talk about? Speaking of Star Trek,
I did not drink enough bourbon, by the way. I really.
We're watching Star Trek Insurrection this week on Soundtracks with Birdman.
Oh, there you go.
And I can wallow in my misery as I remember back to when Star Trek Insurrection. It's all right. Especially compared to what came later. Okay,
that's for sure.
It felt like an episode of the show, but that's not the worst thing it could have been. I thought it was fine when it came out. I'm just done. I'm done. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Yeah. What about we're gonna be watching Roadhouse on Friday? Roadhouse.
Yes. That's one that I am going to encourage you, Boomer. That I know you don't drink. But I recommend you drink heavily for that one. That would be a fun stream to...
I'll about heavily, but I'll have something. All right.
Yeah.
Because I got to work in the morning, unfortunately. But I could have a couple drinks, I think.
Yep,
what is it? I could have some straight Kentucky bourbon, right? I remember I used to have a neighbor when I lived in the apartment in Orlando, and he says to me, you got any beer? And I said, I have root beer. And I handed him a root beer. And he says, it'll work as a chaser. You like that? Never mind. He was a character. He would often say, I would never rob an apartment complex I lived in. That's nice to know. And then he said that he got disability for driving a forklift off a pier or something. Well, he was in it or something. But then he says that he gives the money that he gets to his mother because he doesn't want to pay the IRS. So anyway, these were lovely conversations. I've known a lot of crazy people in my life. Okay, anyway.
You are a crazy person.
I am not.
Okay.
Yeah. Please. I'm sane. I'm perfectly sane. I like Alex Kurtzman. I like Discovery. Michael Burnham. The woman who has a man's name for no expressed reason, unless they explain it in season 3. Mikey Spock, which I'm done. I think Overlord was having an Irish wake for Star Trek tonight. Anyway, so okay. This was fun. Do you have any other housekeeping this week? Anything going on? I know you'll be on Latino Slant on Friday, right?
Latino Slant. I'm doing karaoke every Friday over there. I keep telling people more people need to get over there and join his stream and do some singing because the more other people sing, the less I sing. That's the way to limit the damage I do on the interwebs. And then right after we'll do the the rewatch of Roadhouse, and Saturday over on Netter's Network, we'll be watching the original Amityville Horror with Margot Kidder
And James Brolin.
and James Brolin. That's
There's
right.
a scene in that movie where she hums the Superman theme. Or I
I
think
had
the love theme
forgotten
from
that.
Superman. It's so bad. That movie was scary, man. Remember when the voice says "Get out"?
I'll tell you, like I said, that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. But as an adult, I was like, yeah, this is actually just a story about some homeowners that got in over
No.
their head in a
It's
money
built
pit and
over
are
one of
trying
the
to get rid
seven-
of it.
It's built over one of the 7 cursed gateways, which apparently are all in the United States. Anyway, it's the 7 gateways. You know, the gateway. I'm gonna say the gateway to hell. That's what they say in that movie. Remember that when the one guy's psychic girlfriend says that and her voice gets all distorted? I'm freaking out, man. That's okay. Moving on. See you guys next week. We'll have happy news next week. I'm kidding, of course. Good night.
Take care, everyone.